Hey guys, it's Kesara, and today I'm going to be doing my October reading vlog part 2. Sunday, October 11th, and I hadn't planned to vlog this week, but I was just in the mood to vlog this week, so I figured since I'm in the mood to it, might as well do it. So far, October has been a fantastic reading month. I have read way more than I expected to. It is mostly horror that I've read so far, but I'm really in a fantasy mood this week. A horror fantasy mood, but still like in a high fantasy mood also. So I think this week is going to be filled with more fantasy books, but I'm still gonna have horror books. We'll see how it goes. Last week, it was a little bit more horror with just a hint of fantasy in there. If you missed last week's reading vlog, I will link it up in the cards for you guys so you can check it out. But like always, I'm going to start with the books that I'm currently reading. The first book that I'm currently reading is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielinski, and this book is really interesting. I love the way that it's written. It's written in kind of like the weirdest format where there are like footnotes within footnotes, but like the author has a very unique writing style that really works for me, and I'm really enjoying this. This is kind of about a documentary about a family who moves into a house that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, but it's about a person who is kind of commenting on that documentary, and then it's about a person who found the commentary on that documentary and is commenting on the commentary, and there's a lot. I've heard really great things about it though, so I'm really excited. I'm still pretty close to the beginning right now, right there, so there's plenty that I have left to go, but I'm really enjoying this so far. The other physical book that I started is Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. Like I said, I'm in a little bit more of a fantasy mood, and this is one of the few like fantasy books that I actually put on my TBR. It's more of like a contemporary fantasy rather than like a high fantasy, but that's kind of what I'm in the mood for. So I feel like I'm gonna really like this. I haven't gotten super far into it, but I've gotten like a good 90 or so pages. So I've made pretty good progress considering I started this last night, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I like the sibling relationship in this, and I'm really excited to see where this is going because it has a really unique setup, and I like the way Shauna McGuire's writing in this book. I feel like her writing is very hit or miss for me, but in this book, it's really working so far. Next, I'm also in the middle of The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. So this book I'm almost done with. I got about an hour left in the audiobook. I've been switching between the audiobook and the ebook because I got an e-arc from NetGalley back right before this book came out in September. It is a high fantasy debut novel that's Asian inspired, and it's definitely an epic novel. There are 4 different points of view. This is a society which is controlled by an emperor, so we get points of view from the emperor's daughter as well as a governor's daughter as well as people who aren't so happy with the empire. So like there's a lot of good differing points of view which are really interesting. The magic in this book is fantastic. I absolutely love the magic in this book. The plot so far is really good. My only thing is that I guessed a lot of the plot twists like way before the characters actually guessed it. And I was just kind of like, come on guys, this is so obvious at this point. Like there have been so many clues. So that's my only thing with this book. But other than that, I'm loving every second of it, and I'm probably gonna finish it today, let's be honest. And lastly, last night I decided to pick back up Monstrous Volume 1 by Marjorie M. Liu. So this is a graphic novel series, and I felt like it was just fitting the mood that I'm in right now. It's definitely an Asian inspired high fantasy, but at the same time, it's really, really dark, but the artwork is just absolutely stunning in this book. It's also very feminist, like all of the characters in this book seem to be women, and just like the way that it's written and everything, it's just so beautiful. So like even though like it doesn't have a writing style where I would say like it's beautiful writing, the artwork kind of like makes up for that because that's kind of like building the atmosphere and the scene. I'm really enjoying it so far. I read the first 2 chapters. I think there's like 6 chapters per volume, so like I'm about a third of the way done with volume 1, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It is dark, by the way. It is really, really dark, so I would even consider this like a mix between horror and fantasy, and I'm really enjoying it. Like it is perfect for the mood that I'm in right now. So it is still Sunday. I finished The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. I actually already filmed and posted my review on it, so if you want more details on that, I'll link it up in the cards for you guys, but it was fantastic. I loved it, and while I don't think it was perfect, it was the perfect book for me because I really, really enjoyed it. Like really easy to read, just really good adult, like Asian inspired high fantasy. That was fantastic. So it was definitely the type of book that I would absolutely love, and I absolutely loved it, and I ended up giving it 4.25 stars. After that, I saw that Mindy Kaling did like a series of audiobooks through Amazon Original Stories, which was free with my Prime membership. So I listened to all of them. There were like 6 of them. They were really short. They're like only like 15 to 30 minutes long each. So like it didn't take a long time, but it was still 6 audiobooks that I went through over the course of like a couple of hours. I really, really enjoyed the series. Like they're definitely just like funny anecdotes from her life, but they're also really thought-provoking in interesting ways. My favorite one had to be the first one, which was kind Kind of Hindu. She was kind of talking about like after she had her daughter, she kind of reevaluated her religious beliefs and her religious customs, which I definitely thought was really relatable. At the same time, like it was delivered in Mindy Kaling's just like humorous way, and I really, really loved it. I definitely recommend reading these as audiobooks because they're narrated by Mindy Kaling. Anything that's like written by an actor or comedian, I highly recommend going audiobook version because there are tons of like memoirs out there by comedians, especially stand-up comedians. They have the best audiobooks because they narrate it themselves, and I absolutely loved this entire series. I gave the first one, Kind of Hindu, 4.75 stars, and all the rest of them got some level of 4-star rating for me. I absolutely love this series. It's so hilarious, very relatable, and really, really fun to read. I also made significant progress in Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. I'm about halfway through it now, and wow, like I am loving this so much. I love the sibling relationship in this. I like that the plot is really slow burn, and like the last chapter that I just read was so interesting in what happened. I kind of saw that it was going in that direction. Like I kind of can see the direction that it's going in, but at the same time, we finally got the first like clues of what's actually gonna happen, and I'm absolutely loving it. Like I'm finishing this book a lot faster than I thought I would because I started this yesterday. I didn't expect to be halfway done with it by the end of today. Like I expected this book to take me the entire week, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be finished with this by like Wednesday. I don't know how that happened, but I'm really, really enjoying this. So it is Tuesday, October 13th. Yesterday I finished Monstrous Volume 1 by Marjorie M. Liu. It's just so beautiful. It's set in like an alternate universe, like 1900s Asia that's matriarchal, which I really, really enjoy the fact that it's matriarchal. It works really well in this world, and the art style is just so beautiful. It's kind of like a steampunk fantasy, which I haven't read a whole lot of steampunks, but I'm really enjoying this one. It makes me want to pick up a couple of other ones that I've heard about, so I'm definitely considering the steampunk genre because previously I'm very much a high fantasy genre, and anything that gets even close to urban fantasy I start getting annoyed by, but I might like steampunk because this is fantastic so far. I really, really liked the first volume. It had a great plot. It had some great characters. I love the world building. The world building is absolutely stunning. Not just the art, but the actual like sort of magic slash like what the people are and all of that is fantastic. I absolutely love this so far. I do think that I'm probably going to read all 5 volumes in the month of October because right now I really want to continue on with volume 2. I already downloaded it from Hoopla. It's definitely gonna happen. If not today, then later on this week. I ended up giving the first volume 4.5 stars, and I'm absolutely loving it so far. I've also made quite a bit of progress on Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. I'm really enjoying this more than I expected to because I really didn't have a lot of expectations for this book, but I'm loving the characters. The concept that this explores is really cool too, and I absolutely love that. I'm fairly close to the end in this one right now, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna finish this today, and I'm really excited for it. So yes, really, really excited for this one. I can't wait to see what happens at the end because it plays with time. I love it when books have interesting like time travel sort of things, and this book does such a good job of it. I think I need to make a video on like the best time travel books I've read because I can think of at least 4 right now that do really interesting things with time travel in a way that I absolutely love it, and this one is definitely one of those. And lastly, I have made significant progress in House of Leaves. I am right there, which it doesn't look like I've made significant progress, but so much has happened in the last 50 pages, which I read 50 pages of this yesterday. Again, doesn't sound like a lot, but 50 pages in House of Leaves is like 500 pages in another book. I'm loving, maybe not 500 pages, maybe more like 100 pages, but still, I'm loving this so much. We got some exploration in this so far, and I'm really enjoying the exploration. The house and the fact that it's bigger on the inside than outside, like the world building there, it's just really, really cool. I'm absolutely loving that aspect of this book, which is the documentary aspect of it. I'm not sure how I feel about the commentary yet because there are several sets of commentary. There's, I think, a total of 3 sets of commentary because like the main character of the story is Navidson, and I'm loving his storyline. It's really, really cool. But then we have Zampano who comments on Navison's storyline, and Truant that comments on Zampano's commentary, and then the editors that comment on everyone. So like there's so much here. Navison's story, I'm absolutely loving every second of. Zampano and Truant, I haven't decided if I like them or not, but this book is crazy good, and like it fills me with so much anticipation. I think the next chapter though, which is 50 pages long on its own, is gonna be really good. Like I think what I'm wanting from the beginning of this book is in the next chapter, and I'm really excited for it. Also, I kind of flipped ahead a little bit just to like look at the pages. I haven't read them obviously, but it's really cool. I'll just kind of flip through a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. But there's, like I said, it's color, there's red on it, lots of red. Is there blue? Like a blue box just randomly there? I don't know what's going on here, but this looks like it's like mirrored, so you have to like hold it up to a mirror in order to read that properly. I've been super interested in like different types of formatting, so this is just so fascinating to me. Oh, and that's the 50 pages. That is one chapter. I really want to read that today. The 50 pages in House of Leaves, no less, is a lot to do in one day. So I don't know if I'm going to get to that, but that's kind of my goal for the day. Oh, and finishing middle game because I only got like an hour left in the audiobook anyway. Delicious. So it is the morning of Thursday, October 15th. When we last left off, I was talking about House of Leaves and how 48 hours ago or so, I wanted to finish 50 pages within the next day. I didn't finish those 50 pages, even in the whole 48 hours. I did about 20 pages, so not bad, but I think I've resigned myself that this is going to be like a very slow read for me because I have to read it at very specific times for me to be fully invested in it. If I'm like at all distracted, then I can't read this. So I have to be completely not distracted. And I just don't have that much time right now. I've been really busy. So I just got a call, and since I film on my phone, I don't know where I left off. We're talking about House of Leaves. The anticipation in this book is so real. I want to read this book so much, but I have to be so focused to actually get what I want out of it. This book reminds me of a tag that I did once. I don't remember what the tag was called. If I find it, I'll link it up in the card so you guys can check it out. But one of the questions was something along the lines of, do you read a book all the way through cover to cover, or do you skip parts of a book? And I remember thinking like, who skips parts of books? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why does this question even exist? I think House of Leaves is the reason this question exists, because I am so tempted to just skip half of the book, just skip all the footnotes and read all of the Navison parts of this. But I feel like the footnotes actually do add a lot to the story in ways that I didn't expect, and I feel like they are going to be very relevant eventually, but I'm just so tempted to skip them because they take up so much time when all I really want to be in is in this house. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Also, I really like that it's in color because every time I see the word house, it's in blue. The rest of the text is in black, obviously. But now I feel like I can never look at the word house the same way ever again. But I am really enjoying this. I'm just not reading it very quickly. I did, however, finish Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. This was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I do think that I probably would not have liked this book as much if I wasn't in my current reading mood, because right now I'm just in that mood for like a little bit more slow burn, slow moving plots that are more character driven, and that's exactly what this is. I feel like the ending itself wasn't as dramatic as I probably would have wanted in general, but I personally really enjoyed it. This is really subtle in its magic and its world building, but I really enjoy that aspect of it, at least in the mood that I'm in now, and I think that really worked for me. But I think in other circumstances that may have annoyed me more. So I did really enjoy this. I gave it 4.5 stars. I don't know how I would recommend this book because this is one of those books that I think some people will really like and other people will just find kind of boring, but I thought it was great. So after I finished that, I needed to start a new audiobook, and there was some debate about it, but I finally decided to pick up Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. I have not gotten super far into it. In fact, I've kind of restarted the audiobook. I don't love the audiobook itself. I think I might be switching to the ebook that I have of it, just because I kind of recognize two of the audiobook narrators. There are a couple different ones. I'm not sure, but one of the audiobook narrators sounds a lot like the narrator of The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. That aspect of it really works for me because both of those have like a slight Native American sort of accent to it that kind of works for me really well. But one of the audiobook narrators sounds very much like the audiobook narrator from Parable of the Sower, which is kind of like a completely different atmosphere and environment than I was expecting from Black Sun, which is considered a pre-Columbian fantasy novel. And when they say pre-Columbian, I'm expecting like Mayas, Incas, Aztecs, like those kind of pre-Columbian societies. And I don't know if I feel that from this book. I don't know how you would even know because these are obviously ancient societies that are no longer around today. So I don't know how that would be better conveyed in these books. But I feel like part of it is they feel North American sort of vibes rather than South American vibes, which I mean, that's fine. I don't know. The world building is not perfectly working for me. I like my world building to be subtle. Things like expletives, you know what I mean? Those things I feel like need to be more specific when it comes to fantasy. I think I've gotten used to it with authors like Brandon Sanderson and Robert Jordan, and even Joe Abercrombie. They use very specific expletives for like the different areas that are in their books. But with Black Sun, like they're using modern expletives, and that it doesn't really work for me in a way that I did not expect. I still have a lot of hope for this because the story itself seems really interesting, but the world building is not what I was hoping for going into this book. And because I'm probably gonna consider switching to the ebook for that, I did start another audiobook, mostly just because I was in the mood again for this type of book, and I was just craving this book. Like, this is a reread for me, strictly on audio, and only when I'm doing something that I can't fully concentrate on Black Sun. I picked up The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern. I didn't mean to do this. I was just craving this type of book because this is just absolutely beautiful writing, beautiful prose, beautiful imagery, and that's what makes this book amazing. And it has that light magic fantasy aspect to it that I just absolutely love, and I'm just in the perfect mood for right now. I do think that there are other books that I could potentially read instead of this, but I just know I'm gonna love this where I'm not sure about those, and I just want something right now that I feel a little bit more comfortable in. So that's why I decided to pick this up strictly on audio, no more than like an hour or so a day, when I'm absolutely sure that I would not get very much from Black Sun because I'm doing other things. Friday, October 16th, and I am officially out of the creepy atmospheric sort of mood and definitely out of the horror mood. Like, I'm not feeling it at all. I know, that's weird. Like, I'm only halfway through October. There's a whole other 2 weeks in October, but I am 100% in a fantasy mood. Like, I want to read just all of the fantasy books right now. I've been making progress on Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. This one I've been listening to the audiobook for, and I think I was pretty critical of it in my last clip, and I don't disagree with what I said, but I feel like there is world building there on the macro scale. It's the micro level world building that's annoying me, if that makes sense. Like, it's just the nuances. On the macro scale, you have the names and the beliefs and the cultures and stuff like that that are really interesting and I like, but then like the tone of voice when a character speaks sounds like someone that I would know today, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain that, but from that perspective, I don't get as immersed in the world as I want to. Yesterday, that was kind of frustrating me a little bit, so I decided to switch to a different audiobook just for a little while, and I decided to pick up Theft of Swords because I was kind of like in a fantasy mood, and I was like, let me try a different high fantasy, and that's one of my Fantasy Book Series challenge books that I was supposed to pick up in October, and it's already like halfway through October, so I should probably pick up at least one of them. So I picked up Theft of Swords, and it was like immediately I was drawn into the story. I'm absolutely loving Theft of Swords. I am so sad that it took me so long to pick this book up because I bought the ebook for this, like, I want to say years ago, like back when it like first got published, and I'm loving it so much. I was immediately drawn into the world. I like these characters. One character in particular, not one of the main characters, but one of the characters they're traveling with, is so sweet in the most naive way possible. And I can totally see that people are gonna be making fun of him a lot in the series, and I'm just so excited for it. I'm actually already like halfway done with Theft of Swords, which Theft of Swords is the first 2 books of the Rhaeria Revelation. So technically, I'm finished book 1 and I'm starting on book 2 now for that, but I'm counting it as one book overall because it's one volume. Man, it's so good. I'm really enjoying it. I've already ordered the book so that I can read the physical copy because I just have a feeling this is the type of book that I would want the physical copy of. But also, the audiobook is fantastic. I'm loving the audiobook. For some reason, it's giving me like Harry Potter vibes when I'm listening to the audiobook, which is like weird because it's like a completely different setting. I think the audiobook narrator has a similar style to Jim Dale, not as flowery as Jim Dale's style is, but still feel similar enough that that's why I'm getting those vibes. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Theft of Swords. I'm trying to think if I made progress in anything else. I don't think so, because I listened to and switched between the audiobook and the ebook, because I do have the ebook of it for Theft of Swords. Like, I didn't pick up anything else after that. Like, I just picked it up and I was just like, yep, I'm gonna read this for a while, and I haven't switched to any other books. After I finished book 1, I didn't want to start book 2 right away, so I did switch back to Black Sun today, but I don't know. I feel like I might switch back to Theft of Swords because I'm not feeling Black Sun as much as I really wanted to. So I already started editing this vlog and it's really long already, so I'm gonna be brief. It is currently Saturday, October 17th, and this morning I finished Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. At one point in this novel, I actually got really into it yesterday, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. There were some parts of it that frustrated me a little bit, and the ending, oh my gosh, I almost felt like we got like the first 2/3 of the book and there should have been more after it, because I felt like the ending was just really abrupt. But I did really enjoy this book. I enjoyed this book so much, in fact, that I think that if a few of these things were just slightly different, this could be like a favorite book of all time for me. There was a lot of just like tiny things, but like compounded, they kind of frustrated me. Because of how much I enjoyed it though, I can't give it anything less than 4 stars. And I'm planning on doing a full review on that one, so look out for that in the next couple of days. Also, this baby just arrived. I'm so excited for this. Like you guys know, I'm currently reading Theft of Swords, and I'm so excited to break into this brand new book. I'm about halfway done with it, so I would be right there. This half, I'm planning to read entirely physically. First book, obviously, I listened to the audiobook. I might switch a little bit between the audiobook and the physical book because the audiobook is actually really good for this. I have not continued on with it since the last time I talked to you guys. I'm really excited to continue on with this one, which I will definitely be doing later today. So that's all I have for you guys this week. If you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments because I would love to discuss with you guys. I post videos on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so consider subscribing. And if you'd like to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.